wants camera time.
We'll crop him out.
If everybody is,
Wait a minute.
hold on a second, we'll let our
You
colleagues
might
get the best
driving me
angles here.
crazy.
Everybody's set,
I'm good.
plugged in. And so, you know what, Jerry, what we'll do, we'll give you the opening question. So why don't you get us started?
Whoa. What was it like for you to get the news, this your first round draft pick as a Pitt coach?
You know, it was probably as emotional as it was for Kenny, to be honest with you. It's kind of like winning a championship at the end. You don't remember what happened, right? Does that make sense? You know, I've had some first round players, but not as a head football coach. But to have one, you know, and be there with them at the same time was emotional. You know, we love the Pickett's. You know, we love everything he's done at Pitt. You did. I mean, it was like you were just engulfed in everything. And I'll tell you a funny story. You know, I don't know if it's funny, but you got so engulfed. You know, I think there's some tape delay in what we were getting on that TV, like everybody probably, compared to what is in real time. And you know, as that whole thing was going on, Kenny got the call, and he bent over, and he's like, okay, it's New Orleans Saints, right? And that's about the time, and I think John was there. I don't know if John's still, I think he's got a wedding in Philly. But, you know, he bent over, and you're like, okay, it's the Saints. I mean, the Saints were still on the clock. There was, you know, it wasn't like the pick is in, and he got the call, so we thought he was going to the Saints. So I never looked back up that TV, okay? So we're all hooting and hollering, you're just like ecstatic about what's going on. Then, my phone rings, you know? My phone rings at 10:12, Jerry, right? You asked the question?
Mm-hmm.
Lasted 38 seconds long. It's Coach Tom, and I'm like, why is Coach Tom calling me? And so Coach Tom called and said, hey, did you see who's got him? I said, yeah, the Saints. And I said, you're one off. And he's like, no, we got him. I was like, no, I just saw it, like it was we're in a movie. And you know, he's like, no, we got him. And then all of a sudden, you know, we find out it's the Steelers, and then all of a sudden he's got a baseball hat on with the Steelers. So that's kind of how the whole thing went. So you talk about just in a moment, that's what it was like. It was wild.
Pat, did you have any inkling that it would be the Steelers? I know we talked about other teams, but the Steelers kind of were in the back burner a little.
They really were in the back burner, but they do a great job. I mean, the NFL not letting anybody know. I saw Coach Tom out on the deck 2 days ago, and you know, out on the patio back, and you know, I just said, hey, good luck in the draft. That was it. I didn't say, hey, what's going to happen, Kenny? What do you think? Where do you think he'll go? You know, I didn't ask any questions, and he didn't ask any questions. So it was just like hush, hush. You know, and that's kind of the way the NFL does their business, and I like it. But as a head coach, as a player, for any of these guys in the next few days, you know, I feel bad. It's an emotional moment for them. It's intense. It's not easy. It's not easy for a coach. Usually I'm sitting on my couch, you know, watching it going, when is he going to get picked? You know, whether it's James Conner, Nathan Peter, you know, on and on, Avonte Maddox, all the guys. As a coach, you agonize with them. But being there up in person, looking down at him and looking at him, you know, hold on that phone and have white knuckles and all that is like, you know, wow, this is crazy stuff.
I know there's two sides of this. Is it more comfortable, you think, personally, for him to be in his hometown, or do you think there's maybe more added pressure on him?
I think the atmosphere that he had last night there was outstanding. I think he did the right thing. He did it for his family. He stayed home. You know, that was a perfect decision. I think going out there in Vegas or wherever the next NFL draft would have been more chaotic, maybe more pressure. He's got his family and friends. He's in his hometown. He's in his background. I don't think it could have been any better than what he did last
I meant
night.
drafted by the Steelers.
Oh.
Do you think it's going to be more comfortable for him to stay in his hometown, essentially, or do you think there's going to be added pressure on him being a Steeler now?
I think both. I think, you know, I think the pressure is always going to be there, okay? But it'll all be good pressure because he's a competitor and he wants to compete. But when you look at playing in Heinz Field, you know, how familiar he is. He'll know where to park. Now he gets to park in this lot. They won't throw him out. Okay, Chris LaSalle won't throw him out. He'll get to park in this lot now, not have to park on the other side of the indoor. He knows where he's going. He knows the landscape. There's not going to be this, where am I going to live? He knows the area. I think, so there's a little bit of both, but, you know, that's what Kenny is. He's a quarterback. He's good at dealing with pressure.
Hey, Coach, when you were, before the draft, were you hoping that Kenny would be picked in the first round, and at all were you hoping that he'd be picked by the Steelers? And when you look at it in retrospect, where do you get the most joy? The fact that he was picked in the first round, or that he was picked by the Steelers?
You know, I don't hope for anything. I hope for the best for our guys. You know, I pray that, you know, it's just the right situation. Again, I love Coach Tomlin. I love that staff over at I get to look out my window. It's hard enough, you know, having an office where it overlooks the fields, and, you know, I'm always like this looking out the windows. Now I get to go look at Kenny Pickett. You know, I used to look at James Conner out there. There's nothing better. It's gonna be hard not to look out those windows when they're practicing. When I got work to do, I gotta focus on my job. But, you know, just, you know, so it didn't matter where he went. I didn't hope, you know, we wanted him to go in the first round. He was the first quarterback taken, the only quarterback taken in the first round. That's who I thought he was. You know, I was adamant that he is the best quarterback, and obviously every NFL scout, GM, owner thought the same thing, and that's what it's all about. It's also about need. You know, if someone doesn't need a quarterback, they're not going to take one. So, I mean, it worked out perfectly, not only because he's a first rounder, but he's going to stay here, you know, at home in Pittsburgh.
Pat, before you saw Mike on the deck out there a couple days ago, did you talk to him and Kevin a lot about Kenny, or did they not need to ask the same kind of questions
Zero.
other head coaches
The
would?
last time I had a conversation with either one of them was on the turf, on the indoor facility, and you guys had all your cameras out there pro day. That's it. That's it. They didn't make those calls. You know, I won't share with you what GMs called me or talked to me, but they know. They see it every day. They know who he is, and that's a benefit for Pittsburgh.
Coach, Kenny was extremely emotional at that time. What was it in that room? What was his demeanor like after that initial shock? What was the mood there?
God, it's hard to explain, you know, because probably I was emotional too. But it was just like, you know, I just remember him bent over, and, you know, you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what area code it was. I thought it, like, you know, it was coming from Louisiana. Lo and behold, it's coming from Pittsburgh. So, you know, he's just emotional, man. I think it's an emotional time, and he's just, you think about this is what he's dreamed about his entire life, and it's coming true. And he's going to be right here in a place that he's familiar with. I think, you know, it's a dream come true.
And you've never seen his demeanor is always solid. I mean, for you to see him that way.
Yeah, well, I've seen him in the locker room after a game. You see him in the locker room after a loss, after a win. You see that. I mean, that's how he is. He's an emotional guy, but not on the field. He's like that on the field. That's business on the field. That last night was life changing. And after games, that's when people, you know, coaches, players, fans, let their emotions come out.
If you went back to last April and someone told you everything the next 12 months would be for Kenny, ACC championship,
Gotcha.
Heisman, first round draft pick, all these, I mean, would you say, yeah, I know that's going to happen? Or would you have been surprised? I mean, what would have been your reaction?
I would not have been surprised at all, but, you know, it's hard to do what he did. I mean, it's a trifecta. I mean, he did it all. I mean, he maximized everything. Probably should have won the Heisman too, I'll throw in. But he did everything he could possibly do. So, you know, again, I wouldn't have, you know, said, oh, there's no way he can do that, because that's why he came back. That's why I thought it was, you know, important and smart for him to come back. So, you know, but he works. He's a worker. He's a competitor. He's probably got a notebook in his hand right now on the flight over here, you know, working on what's the next step.
Pat, you were the one guy that stuck with him, even when people were questioning him his sophomore year, and you stuck by him and said, he's our quarterback, he's our starting quarterback. How did you know back then that he was going to be this good, or potentially this good?
You just know he's got the it. Okay, I'll never forget sitting on the field looking like this down at Max Brown when he's got a dislocated shoulder up in Syracuse, New York. And when I was looking down, you know, I'm a strategist. I'm like, Kenny Pickett's got to play. And that's why he played the last play of that game, the last couple plays, whatever it was. You know, I knew back when he was a freshman. I knew when I watched him on the scout field. We've known for a long time. You know, do you always have all the parts around you? Do you drop passes? You drop touchdowns? You fall down? All those things. You know, that all goes on a quarterback's record. But you know, who Kenny was in 2021 is who he really was in 2020, without a little bit of practice and COVID, you know, hitting and all those other things. So I knew it back when he was a true freshman.
Coach, not all Steeler Nation is from Pittsburgh. So the Steeler fans who didn't watch Kenny here, tell them what kind of player Kenny is.
You know, you know, it starts off, I think, you know, what are you doing before the ball snapped? And the first thing I say, Kenny's a leader. He's going to make the team better. And again, he's a natural leader. He's by far our best leader last season. He's the guy. And again, I've met with almost every player on our football team here in the last month here, just talking about, you know, just about the team. What do we do to repeat it? Leaderships, captains, all those things. and he's by far a leader. So they're going to get a great leader. They're going to get a passer. He can throw the ball. He can put it right where it needs to be. He's accurate. He can read coverages, and then he can make plays with his feet. So I mean, he's got the whole package. And you know, more than all that, you can be talented. He's a worker. He's going to work. He's going to put the effort in. He's going to do whatever it takes, which is really his motto: is whatever it takes, guys. Let's go. And that's Kenny Pickett.
You know better than anybody, for the last 4 seasons and some change, even his freshman year, he's just been playing, working constantly. Every game, his body's getting beat up. I mean, the Steelers signed a veteran earlier this offseason. Could a year away from, obviously Kenny won't want this, he'll want to compete, but could a year just kind of sit back and watch and learn, help a guy like that?
Yeah, you know, there's only one guy up above that knows, you know, what that plan is, and maybe, you know, a guy next door. But, you know, that's not for me to decide. Could a year help everybody? I think every freshman that comes into college, a year helps everybody, you know. I think every year you get older, you're going to be a better football player. Would sitting out a year help? Yeah, but that's not what his plan is. I can tell you that right now. I mean, he wants to come compete right now. That's what he wanted to do. I mean, he's still mad to me. I mean, if you guys ask him today, he's still mad that I didn't play him in his freshman year in every game. You know, like, you know, Coach, what were you doing? Even when Sam went down, or Max went down, you know, he was like, you know, I should have started all those 4 games. Like Coach, you know, like you were on the scout field. Like, you know, we just wanted to weed him in, but he's still mad. I mean, he wants to go now. So that's just his makeup, which is what you want in a football player. You want a guy who wants to go play now.
That being said, excuse me, is he ready to start as a rookie?
I believe so, but I don't make those decisions. That's why I used to make that decision. You know, I wanted to wean him into it, and everybody's got to, you know, make a decision. We want to save him, to be honest with you, because we thought we had a solid quarterback. But he's ready, okay, as far as what he's been coached to do, how he can read coverages. That's why, you know, the style of offense we run, you know, pro style, him reading coverages, he's been trained properly. We're not running RPOs and he's reading one outside linebacker. Linebacker steps in, he throws over his head. It's not that. He's a drop back passer, the drop back and threw the ball. If you look at, you know, when it's a ball game, probably 85% of the time. I mean, you know, his job was made hard at times, in my opinion, because everybody knew we were going to throw the ball, we weren't going to run it, okay? So I think, you know, it made everybody's job, made the O-line's job hard, because it was like people had their ears pinned back and they're going after Kenny. Having the run game, which I know Coach Canada's going to have, because he's the best, that, you know, it'll be great for him, so.
Anything final?
The program, what does this do for the program for kids thinking about Pitt, seeing, I mean, it's the highest drafted quarterback out of Pitt ever, so what does this do?
Ever, I didn't know that, Kelly.
Well,
You
that's
know,
from Twitter, so don't quote me.
EJ
true,
probably knows.
it's true.
Okay, I think I got it from EJ, so.
Stat machine, EJ. You know, again, you know, every little bit that happens like that, whether it's an ACC championship, a coastal championship, you know, a Biletnikoff, a Heisman finalist, you know, a first-round pick, you know, a second-round pick today, you know, whatever it may be. I mean, all those things matter, and it means a lot. I mean, it tells you that we're building a program here, and you know, we just try to get better every day.
Is he allowed to throw to a Penn State guy at tight end?
Hell yeah.
Pat, you coached against Trubisky, and now Kenny, and you, of course, coach Kenny. Now we're going to be competing. How would you compare the two quarterbacks?
I can't compare. That's not my job. My job is I know Kenny's prepared. I know he's ready to go. I know he's a competitor. I know Mitch is good, but I don't know where Mitch came from. I don't know what he did at North Carolina. I don't know what happened in Chicago. I'm not fit to discuss that.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.